Hello, this is BlueStar, defender of the BlueStar. And this is my panel one, the lessons of friendship. A summary of the main lessons taught in MLP Friendship and Magic. Because we try to go through them all, we'll be here all day, maybe all week. Next. So, yes, so how this is going to basically work is I'm going to go through sort of like the general lesson and episode or episodes that relate to that lesson. So, yes, starting off with, ignoring your problems is no way to solve them. Because this is one of the main reasons that episodes and problems in general lead to disaster. Like it bottled up. Like, oh, we all know this isn't going to end well. Where Starlight Glimmer is attempting to, unfortunately, not use magic to, she's attempting to, not use, so she used magic to not use magic, but ends up causing even bigger problems because she's really angry and mad at Trixie. That it's like, Trixie, you ruined my tea cakes. And then you like don't even care about it. So yeah, she's trying to, and also to avoid, confronting Trixie about it. She's just basically taking her emotions, literally putting them into a bottle and basically ignoring the problem. But of course, as we all know, when you do that, eventually everything just blows up because it can only take so much at some point. And that's pretty much what happens in that episode. Okay, so next. Be there for your friends when you see there is a problem. This sounds easy, but sometimes it can be difficult. Like in Lesson 0, the main that tricks Twilight in her usual Twilight way is basically just being Twilight. Just like, Twilight, chill, this isn't a problem. And in some ways it is. But also at the same time, what Twilight's going through is completely legit. In that she thinks that if she doesn't send a letter to Celestia, that Celestia is going to think that she's a terrible student and may do something horrible to her. And yes, we all know that that's not true. But the main six, upon hearing Twilight's problem, basically dismiss it and say, Twilight, this is the problem, chill. But Twilight runs off still angry and upset and everything. And what they should have done was they should have gone after her and tried to help her, but they do have to say at the same time, Twilight was being completely irrational in that episode. But even so, the main six needed to try a little bit harder. Because while they may have thought there wasn't a problem, there clearly was. Not asking for trouble is in some ways the opposite, where the yaks have been, Yakistan has been buried in snow. And there's no way the yaks can dig themselves out of this. So they need the police help. And of course, yaks are best. They don't want to admit that they need help. They're too proud for that. But they know that they need it. And even after Mickey Pie is thrown out of Yakistan by Prince Redford, that she still recognizes that. So the Yaks still need our help, but we need to still help them, but we can't do it in a way that they know that we're helping them. So this is like the only covert rescue operation that isn't military-based. So, and the main six almost get away with it because they get busted right out beside the front door. And you'd think that, they first think, oh my gosh, he's going to be so mad at us. But it's like, he says, no, we're not mad at Big Pony. You helped us without us having to ask you. That means you understand yaks. So Pinkie Pie was a really good friend in the situation because she saw there's a problem. It needs fixing, even though they told me, no, they don't want us to help them. Next. Of course, it would be a BlueStar panel if I didn't reference Babylon 5 at least once. And I have to say that the quote, the situation behind this quote is a little bit more dark than the average situation in My Little Pony. But to me, this represents almost the friendship cure-all, the thing that fixes most of the episodes and most friendship problems in general. Audio's not working.
No, I'm good for, I know what's happening.
Okay, alright, so.
Hang on.
Wait,
I can get this for a moment.
This is a bit, I think I can get the character. like, we don't talk much. And even when we do, we just end up hurting each other. Maybe I should just let it go. Talk to it, Stephen. No matter how hard it is, tell it how you feel, no matter how hard it is. Like, you know, I watched the chance to do so. Don't make the same mistake. Okay, back to the slide, please.
See if we got it.
Good, it's okay, yeah. That was basically the quote. It's like Stephen says to Ivanova that basically we don't talk much. He's trying, and Ivanova tells him, no, talk to him no matter how hard it is. Okay, now yeah, let's go on to the next slide.
Hang on. Hey, Morty, you have trouble? Alright, bye. Telling me it's correct.
Okay, now go to the next slide.
Oh, I realize what I've done.
Maybe it's better I just let it go.
Talk to him, Stephen. Tell him what you feel, no matter how hard it is. I didn't, and I lost the chance.
Next slide, please.
Oh, frick.
I think the system crashed.
Oh, that's gonna be difficult.
I'm sorry about this fight, but it happens.
We can't press the PowerPoint at all.
Set up currently.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, the projector's not showing what his laptop's showing.
Yeah, hang on, no, I haven't started.
All right.
I haven't started this.
We don't talk much. Even when we do, we only end up hurting each other. Maybe it's better I just let it go.
Talk to him, Stephen. Tell him what you feel, no matter how hard it is. I didn't, and I lost the chance. Don't make the same mistake.
Yeah, this could be hard, but this would fix just about like any episode in the series. Because the basic flow of every episode is there's some kind of problem between one or more ponies. Ponies either try to solve it on their own or ignore it, which leads to a horrible catastrophe. And then the ponies go and do what they should have done to begin with, which was go and point out this problem and fix it. I can take it faster. A quick letter would have fixed a big problem. Because yeah, like, Twilight is like, she's been given a ticket to the Grand Gal, and a +1 ticket, but she has 5 friends. Who did she take? And she concludes, after, you know, the main point, well, I gave her favors, etc., that, you know what, we can't all go, that none of us will. So she writes a letter to Celestia, and then Celestia writes back, oh, Twilight, why didn't you say so? Here's 6 tickets. Oh yeah, so a quick letter would have fixed all of that. It would have avoided all the problems in that episode. The bending fences. A very hard fence that needed bending. Again, like this is, you know, this was such a difficult problem that I know that nobody thought really thought needed to be fixed, but it did. And the ending of this was just so hard and difficult because, yeah, the emotions are raw, they're real. It's like, you know, this was the first time that I ever put myself out there, and you didn't even show up. And as hard as that conversation was, that's what needed to be done. It wasn't throwing it over Marty or doing these favors that fixed this particular problem. What in some ways, that was almost the thing that needed to happen with Twilight and Moonheads almost needed to have it out with each other and acknowledge, and Twilight needed to acknowledge that there was a problem, there was a hurt, and it needs to be fixed. And that's what Twilight does. She says, I face all kinds of things. The ending of, evil monsters, the end of Equestria, but knowing that I hurt you was the worst thing I've ever felt. And that was what fixed this. It was acknowledging that, well, I hurt her, and I want to fix it. And that's, in the end, what needed to be fixed. I don't know. Talking with Trixie was hard, but it would have prevented a far larger disaster that involved 3 ponies that weren't even involved with this at all. Because that's up because when the magic bottle breaks and all that anchor and stuff gets released, it all just goes to the 3 nearest ponies around, so, but yeah, it's what Trixie, it sounds like Glimmer is basically, she doesn't want to confront Trixie, because if she does, she thinks that she's going to lose that friend. But if she had gone, but in some ways, she had to have that conversation anyway, because that's what happens at the end of the episode. So, yes, it would have been hard to have that conversation, but if she had had that conversation, it would have avoided most of the problems in this episode. Don't use magic to solve your problem. Because as one said in another series, shortcuts lead to dead ends, my son. In every little thing she does, Starlight Glimmer is taking control instead of releasing it the way she should have. That she thinks it's all about these activities. It's about, oh, I have to do this with Apple Jam, I have to do this with Pinkie Pie. But I don't know how to bake a cake and all this stuff. And so she's using her magic to take control of the situation and debate 6 directly. And that leads to far greater problems. And of course, in the middle world, we don't have magic. But I feel like magic could be substituted for something like, alcohol, drugs, the quick fix. It's like, ooh, if I do this will fix the situation, it will fix it right now. But often, that leads to far bigger problems because that's sort of sidestepping the issue, the real problem, and not really fixing it. Sort of like treating the symptoms, but not the disease. Right? The elements of moderation, even the elements of harmony need moderation from sometimes. Because you can't be honest all the time, you can't be kind all the time. Well, as we see in Honest Apple, where Applejack is way too honest. It's like Applejack has been invited to participate as a judge at a passion show, perhaps wisely, but she's not also even more wisely, she's been told to be honest. And she goes way too far, to the part where she actually, physically destroys the work of one of the artists, and as a maker, it's like, that infuriates me, you just destroyed hours of work. Let me introduce you to Mr. Fisty Wist. Yeah, and Applejack will be realizes her mistake when she, when another company maybe does what she was doing to her, and very like, Applejack, why are you angry? She's only giving her honest opinion, and she's like, oh. And yeah, it's when we, feel like, with the internet and everything, the internet enables us to unload on someone and then walk away. And we need to stop doing that. We need to start tempering our honesty and our opinions a little bit. So that, it's like that's how we may be feeling, but if we say those things, well, it might hurt this person's feelings a lot more than we think. And it ain't easy being greasy. Sometimes being harsh is kind. Because in this episode, Fluttershy, wants to be nice to Rishi. She wants to care of them. She wants to give them all this stuff. But that's not what they need. They need to be told, you must leave now. Because otherwise, they're going to be in a far bigger problem. And of course, this breaks Fluttershy's heart. She doesn't want to be harsh. She doesn't want to be mean. But she needs to be in this particular episode. Because otherwise, just being nice to everybody sometimes doesn't serve them. And and the breezy character always has to learn the opposite, which is where you can't be harsh and mean to everybody all the time, because otherwise they will just stop, they will shut down, they won't listen to you anymore. So sometimes you need to be harsh, and sometimes you need to be kind. The difficult bit is figuring out when. Right? Another difficult one, but obviously a very important one, is you have to admit when you're wrong and fix it. You know, as an example, when I realizes that, oh, I did something horrible to this fashion show, I basically ruined it, she literally goes and lassos the other the contestants and drags them back to the competition, and then says that how sorry she is and fixes the competition, and so that he goes forward. So it's like, I am going to fix this whether you want me to or not. And my defense is, in some ways, the similar thing is like, when Paul realizes, oh wait, I was a terrible French food dancer. I have to fix this. It's like, not next month, not next week, not tomorrow, now. It's like, Spike, how about we're leaving now. Very good. And that's how it was finally cleaned up. It's like, although Derry may be an amazing action hero and all that stuff, but like most action heroes, he leaves a lot of damage in her wake. It's like, oh, that apple cart. That probably belongs to somebody. Oh, the statue. It's probably important to this town. And yeah, I know I'm in a hurry, but I should probably take a hotel bill. And that went to the point where it's like, Dr. Cavaron actually uses this against her and starts turning all the police against her because of this. But when she finally does realize this, she goes and she fixes it, she replaces the statue, fixes the apple cart, pays her bill, and everything's good. Like, try to understand how the other party feels, because sometimes the best way to fix a problem is to understand what it is. Lesson 0. The main 6 ignore Twilight's anxieties because they think, no, Twilight, you've got nothing to worry about, it'll be fine. And in some ways, yes, it's true, but at the same time, they're not acknowledging the way that Twilight's thinking. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, I don't want to be a bad student, I want to, I want to do this on time, I want to show Celeste that I'm a good student, and oh my gosh, I don't think she's going to send me back to bed in kindergarten. And besides, nobody ever said that fear and anxiety was ever rational. Yeah, so if they had looked at it more from Twilight's perspective and understood the way she feels, then maybe they might have tried harder to help Twilight fix this problem. The best guess ever was, in some ways, the opposite of this, as Silverpool says, that it was actually showing how much the main 6 have changed and grown and evolved, because after seeing Twilight freaking out about everything that's going on, Applejack goes to Twilight and says, hi Twilight, how's your day? This is, in a way, a subtle attempt of basically just saying, Twilight, how are you doing? Are you okay? Kind of a thing. Acknowledging that Twilight needs their help. Trust your friends, / don't go alone. Because we all need help sometimes. But fortunately, your friends can help. Especially when you have such amazing friends as the main 6. Like in Applebuck season. Applejack cannot physically harvest all of these apples in the entire apple family orchard in the time she has. It's not physically possible. And even though she tries, she works herself to near exhaustion, which leads to us causing problems for all the other ponies in Ponyville. It's like if I was this messed up, I would not be showing up to work. But yeah, all Applejack needed to do is just say, Twilight, I need your help. And the main 6 would have been there to help her, and then that's at the end what happens. Magic Jewel, where every pony was part of the solution. And yeah, Trixie has got the Alicorn amulet is now magically more powerful than Twilight. Twilight cannot physically beat Twilight. Twilight cannot physically beat Trixie in this magic duel. But I really like what the writers did here is that it's not about Twilight trying to be more powerful than Trixie. It's about they have to somehow get Trixie to take the amulet off herself. So they get all the other ponies and Ponyville together, and ironically Trixie, with her own kind of stage magic, to make her think that, oh, this amulet that they have, oh, it's way more powerful than mine, I'll take it. So everybody's honeymoon was part of the solution there. So I went back. Be yourself, or else. So this is a common thing that we see a lot. That, yeah, some character will try to be what they think some other character wants them or expects them to be, and eventually it leads to everything blowing up. Because it's kind of like an actor trying to be in character like forever. At some point, they're going to break character. It's hard to say anything. Big Mac just needed to be Big Mac. The Junior Crusaders have convinced him that, oh, he does all these like fairy tale prince things, that, oh, Sugar Bell is gonna, just love that, and, they're gonna have a relationship and all that stuff. But in some ways, this could be further from the truth. Sugar Bell doesn't care about those things. In fact, Big Mac does it herself, but she's not a fairy tale princess. So she doesn't care about any of those grand gestures and stuff, and what finally wins her over is that, here, honey, I made you a display case. It's hardly a gesture that you'd see in like a Hollywood romance movie, but this means the world to Sugar Bell. Because like, oh, now I can make more pies and cakes and everything, this is great. And it also shows that Big Mac understands her, he cares about her. He did enough to that he took the time and effort to actually make something that she cares about. And that's so Big Mac in the end didn't need to be a fairy tale prince. He just needed to be Big Mac. This part of the party, wait, this door, do something to chaotic, because I don't want you to be dead. I want you to be alive. Or a cowboy. Bad versus the joke. I think, yeah, as a lord of chaos, Discord is trying to not be Discord and chaotic. He's trying to throw a tea party the way that he thinks Fluttershy would throw a tea party. And as the Lord of Chaos, that is physically destroying him. It's like, everyone's going to say, wait, Discord, wait, because I'm chaotic. To the point where Fluttershy actually has to be the chaotic one and actually start doing things a little bit at a time until she finally starts being chaotic until Discord is all like better again and he can be chaotic himself. So yeah, so this one has to learn. No, don't be Fluttershy. You have to be you. And in Dragon Quest, your past doesn't determine your future. But yeah, Spike sees the great dragon migration, and obviously being a dragon, he wants to learn more about what dragons are like. So he goes, he follows the dragon migration. And unfortunately, he doesn't like what he learns. He learns that dragons are selfish and jerks, and that's not who he is. And at one point, the dragon say, all right, take this thing and smash it. He's like, what? Why would I want to do that for? That's not me. That's not who I want to be. He could say, well, I'm a dragon. This is the way I'm supposed to be. He says, no, this isn't me. This isn't who I want to be. I'm going to be who I want to be. So again, your past does not determine your future. You do. Sometimes you need to take care of yourself. So there's a line from what comes up with duty first. But you also have a duty to yourself. Because the line is, as a duty, as a princess of Equestria, you will always have responsibility. But you also have a responsibility to yourself. And I love them. The main six are primarily about service. They're about helping other ponies and all those sorts of things. But sometimes, yeah, you have to take care of yourself. And I shouldn't really reference my own fan fiction, but BlueStar's father says to him that nothing is just as important as working hard, because without it, there's nothing left to fight with. And a help of information where Fluttershy, Sakura has contracted this disease, and we have the ticking clock of we have to find a cure within a week, or otherwise Sakura will turn into a tree. But unfortunately, Fluttershy also gets the disease, and she's pushing herself so hard and so fast. And at one point, Twilight is like, we've been researching this all day. Maybe we should take a break. It's like, what have you done with Twilight? It's like, what has Twilight ever said? No, I don't want to research anymore. And Fluttershy pushes herself so hard that she actually goes unconscious for 3 whole days, which personally I find terrifying. I would find it terrifying. It's like, you pass out and it's like, oh, it's 3 days later. And it could have been much worse, and let's say even 5 days later, it's like, no, we were too late, Sakura has been turned into a tree. So yeah, if Fluttershy had rested like even an hour, maybe that made the difference between her, passing out or not, and she would have been able to help them even more. Because it's a basic rule of rescue that you can't help anyone if you need rescue yourself. It wasn't upon the Zeppelin, even a princess needs boundaries. Especially a princess needs boundaries. And yeah, the Iron Wheel has literally tricked these, Twilight and her family to on this cruise where, it's actually a princess, it's a cruise of the princesses. So now they have to basically entertain a lot of these ponies. And Twilight agrees, okay, well, next time we do whatever they want, now I'll do these activities. But she misses out on the one activity she really wanted to do, and when she realizes that, she gets all angry and upset. And Kate almost has to go talk to her afterwards because she recognizes what Twilight is going through because she's probably gone through it herself. From the beginning of that, Kate almost looks at her almost like disapproving, like, when she says, like, no, it's okay, it's fine. I can see that Kate's just like, no, Twilight, it's not okay. What you wanted mattered. Yeah. Because Twilight is trying to, be a good princess. She's trying to, make all these other ponies happy, but it's at the expense of her own happiness, and that can be especially difficult sometimes. So yeah, Kate's just telling her that, sometimes ponies ask for more than you can give, and you need to set some boundaries. And when I had Flurry Heart, the line was a lot easier to see. Because when you have a huge responsibility as a child, all of a sudden, those things that you thought were important are not so important. And yeah, there was a character temporarily inserted into her family that, she actually steps on her foot, she's trying to like back up or something. And it's like, she needs to learn that she needs to push back a little bit. She doesn't say no. She needs to set boundaries, saying, and not to mention speak up when ponies are pushing too far. The student council. Starling Glitter invents the beeper and immediately regrets it. Because you can't be available all the time. Especially now with smartphones, they give people 24/7 access to you. And we can't do that. Yeah, sometimes there's a button on the side that says off. Sometimes we need to push it more often. Because yeah, in this episode, Starling Glitter is basically being beaten every time some pony knocks on her door. And sometimes the characters are actually abusing it. It's like, and don't even need to. Like Silverstream is coming to Starlight Glitter and all these, like, oh, you just send it for this. It's like, but in the meantime, there's this giant line of ponies outside that probably have far more pressing problems. So yeah, so Starlight Glitter needs to learn that, okay, I need to set, okay, I can't be available all the time. Okay, I'm going to be available from this time, and set some of those boundaries. Sometimes you need to stand up for yourself, and sometimes it's okay to say no. Because because the main six are all very different from each other. They all have very different interests, and they're not going to all get along or want to do the same things all the time. Like Scaremaster, we're like, I can't participate, but I really don't want to. Now this episode, main six convinced Fluttershy to actually participate in Nightmare Night, even though she'd rather hide under her bed with her animals. And at first it's like, oh, we have to scare her, and that doesn't work out, and everything is just not working, and it's just ruining it for everybody. You think, oh, you know what if Fluttershy tries to scare us? And Fluttershy at first doesn't do enough, and then she goes completely off the wall and goes far too much to the part of where the main six actually think they're in physical danger. And at one point she sees that they're like, she sees how scared and stuff they are. It's just, oh, why? It's like, even though she knows they're not in danger, this this isn't what she wants. She doesn't want to see her friends be this way. And basically says that, yeah, I can't participate, but I really don't want to, because I know that you were in danger, but this isn't what I want to do. So Fluttershy goes, just, hiding under her bed, under her bed with her animals, and that's fine. And Fluttershy leads in, like, she's trying to build the animal sanctuary, and unfortunately, the ponies that Domain 6 recommend to help her are unfortunately completely the wrong kind of ponies to help her here. She doesn't need interior designing, she doesn't need cages. And, even though she tells them what she wants them to do, they basically flat ignore her and do whatever they think that they should. And that leads to a horrible disaster that Fluttershy, says, now, I appreciate what you've done, but your services are no longer required. And that was a good episode for Fluttershy, because it shows that, she can be assertive and say that, no, this isn't, I appreciate what you did, but this isn't what I wanted. Casual Boutique wasn't quite the primary list of this episode, but yeah, it's like Sassy Saddles is basically trying to run Rarity's Boutique as her own. Rarity, remember, no, it's her boutique, not Sassy Saddles. She needs to remember, she's the boss. She needs to keep that she needs to push back against Sassy Saddles and remember that she's in charge and that she has to run it the way that she wants to run it. A Cart Before the Ponies / The Last Crusade, the Cart Crusaders need to say, I want to say in the matter. This was in some ways kind of hard for them because, as children, it's difficult to stand up to the adults sometimes. Like in The Cart Before the Ponies, it's like, well, they're adults, they've done this before, they must know what they're doing, but the problem is the main 6 are basically taking control away from the kids. This is supposed to be about what the kids want, and their cards, but instead the main 6 are trying to either recapture lost glory or win a competition that they didn't win before through the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and they're basically taking control away from them. So they have to say, it's like, these are your cards. The Last Crusade, Scootaloo's parents basically say, okay, we're moving. And this is unfortunately a difficult situation, because after all, it's like, yeah, no parent probably wants to take their kid, wants to just have their kids and just take them away from their friends and move, but unfortunately, that's not enough. But I like how they describe this as that, it's important, you have to leave because your job is important. I have to stay because my job is just as important, and I have to do it with my friends. Okay, so that was difficult for her, but that, in the end, was what you had to do. You had to stand up to her parents and show them. And unfortunately, with the help of all the ponies that she's helped, she was able to show them how important it was for them to stay. So I guess the final thought on Friendship is Magic. The premieres and the finals, show them, the true magic of friendship and why in some ways the villains always fail. Because we're always stronger together than apart. And the villains, even when they're working together, they're not really working together. They're like, I'm doing this for what I want. But the friends, when we're truly working together for a common goal and a common cause, that is way stronger than a bunch of villains just fighting alone. Because they can be there for each other through the good and the bad. And sometimes friendship can be difficult. You're going to have problems. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be fights. There's going to be things that you are going to have to deal with. It's going to be tough. But it's something that's always worth fighting for. So, anybody has any questions?
I never really.
Yes?
Would you say, I'm trying to reword it in my head correctly, but basically, what if it's a relative, same in your opinion, what if the pony that you need to help or speak with is a relative that's unwilling. Yeah, unwilling.
That's difficult. Yeah, that's what made Lesson Zero. Wow.
That's unwilling.
That's difficult. I mean, it's sort of the opposite of Lesson Zero I was thinking of. Is that, Twilight wants help, but the main six are unwilling to give it because they think there isn't a problem. And there is a point where it feels like, yeah, for them, it's like, okay, we tried. Okay, let's go. One's going to go off and do whatever she wants. But yeah, in that situation, they need to try a little bit more. It is difficult because, yeah, sometimes it's like, if they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to help, then you can only do so much. But in some ways you should try, or try maybe something else, or maybe there was another thing with that episode is that Spike was in some ways the one that showed that he was a good friend because he contacted Princess Celestia. And in some ways, that's what needed to also happen here. It's like, we need to get Mom involved in this one. This is too big for us. Mom, come down here and help us with this. And sometimes that is true, is that, sometimes maybe they won't listen to you, but maybe they'll listen to somebody else. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
What key differences do you see between the friendship of the main six that form and I guess
what differences, key differences do you see between how the main six came together and other friendship groups, smaller ones throughout the series, like for example Trixie and Starlight?
Well, obviously the main six originally came together because of the whole thing with the Omission Party. And eventually they learned, yeah, that's how we got started, but that's not the reason they're all friends. In the case of like Trixie and Starlight Glitter, it's because in some ways they have a lot more in common than they think they do. That they were at one point they were both villains, and that that they identify with each other because like they've been through the same things. Like ponies, they say they'll give you a second chance, but they really don't. And I believe that was their first meeting. They both meet at the spa because they're both trying to relax and figure out this and stuff. So I think that's probably why in that case they those group of friends form because they have something similar with each other. Of course, it can depend. I mean, sometimes, though, again, the basics are very different from each other. For you think that these ponies would never be friends with each other. We have a country pony that's friends with a fashionista. So you have a pony that loves being covered in mud, and another pony that's just like, ugh, I can't stand mud. So, in some ways, you don't know where these kinds of friendships could form, but they're all, generally, I would say that, ponies that are similar to each other will definitely form a lot easier, but it's also possible for ponies that have nothing in common to be friends as well.
I like that one thing.
Okay.
Like in one episode where they go to Starlight's village, they're all the exact same. They do the exact same thing, hairstyle, everything. They're not really friends or family. It's just, well, it's a cult. And yeah, they had to show their friendship. Of course, the main six goes over there and teaches them about there's no reason to be all the same because there's no fun in that. There has to be diversity, or else you're not going to get along very well.
No, I mean, like that's the opposite thing. It's like being all the same. That's totally boring. I mean, in some ways, that's kind of what's the point of like.
Cutie Mark Crusaders?
Well, that too. I was thinking the Discord episode with where it's like he thinks I have to be the same as Fluttershy. No, we want you to be you. I don't want to go to my own party. I want to go to yours.
Maybe you, but less discordy.
Yeah.
Or less chaotic.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions? Well, I guess that's it, so thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed this panel, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of SeaquestriaFest. So, until next time, this is Blue Star. Stay strong and pony up. Blue Star out.
Thank you.